we are continuing with Procrastination Month. We are getting the skinny on why we procrastinate today. Now you might be thinking, relationship and stress coach, why are you talking about procrastination? And really, I just find that it's such a stressful thing for people when they're procrastinating and they're not getting things done that they really want to do. And so I think it's really important to talk about, and it's something really important to get help on if that's something that you need. Have you ever said to you, just gone like, oh my gosh, I can't believe, why did I wait so long to get started on that? Why didn't I do that? Now I'm scrambling and I'm stressed and trying to get this thing done. And what was I thinking? We have a million reasons that we tell ourselves for why we're procrastinating, and this happened, that happened, why we're putting things off, and some people, they work better under pressure. Some people, they're social procrastinators. Maybe they're volunteering. Maybe they're I know when I procrastinate, I clean. Although you wouldn't always know from my house, but there are lots of valuable things that we do when we procrastinate, but at the end of the day, it ends up stressing us out. So I really wanted to talk about, get the skinny on why we procrastinate, so that, we can really recognize ourselves in some of these blocks that we have and start to move through them. So, of course, before we get started, I just want to introduce myself. I'm Nancy Brooker. I am a relationship and stress coach. I help women who are stuck in a challenging relationship, coworker, partner, family member, child, and especially that relationship with yourself, which is often what this procrastination thing is about. To just bring more clarity about what's holding you back, more calm, more connection into your life, so you can experience all of your relationships with more joy and ease. So, the skinny on why we procrastinate, really important so that we can get wise and move forward, right? So, number one, and this is a tough one. I think sometimes we think we don't have the willpower or the determination to get things done that we want to do. And this is a hard one. I think at the end of the day, the willpower is sort of a funny, maybe not even a real word sometimes in my mind, because there are so many blocks that can get in our way of what that willpower is. And then we beat ourselves up and think we don't have the willpower, when really there's something underneath that's holding us back. Willpower is really about being self-disciplined and managing our fears. Well, who doesn't have fears? Like, everybody does. And managing fears is not an easy thing. We have all these subconscious beliefs that start to come up about what we can or can't do. And we'll actually get into a little bit more of that as we go on. So I think it's sometimes a bit of a, we beat ourselves up over it, and we really shouldn't, because what we really should start doing is looking at what are these beliefs that are holding me back. It's not that you're a bad person because you don't have enough willpower or determination. There are other things underlying it. So I really hate I hate to see people beat themselves up over that. So I always want to mention that one first. Try and think of your goal, and what is that first smallest step that you would need to take to achieve that goal. And then what comes up when you think about that. So I did this with a client just a few weeks ago, and she was trying to work towards a certification, but wasn't able to get herself started. And so I asked her that very question. So what's that very first step that you have to take? And it was a really, from the outside seemed like a really simple little thing. It was a matter of taking out the book and just looking through it. It wasn't even, she didn't have to study anything. It was just take a look and see what's in there, to get an idea of the scope of what she had to do. And right away, all these, things from the past that had came up, and things people had said to her, things she believed about herself, just in that little step, considering that first step. So we did some really great work together, and she was then able to just take that first step and we keep working on each step at a time and clearing things as they come up and dealing with whatever comes up. So there's so much you can do with that. Number two, sometimes we don't know what we want for ourselves. And so we think we have this goal, but we're not really, maybe we're not really clear on it, or maybe we're very clear, but we're really just not that into it. At the end of the day, if we really sit and think about it, it's something we're being pushed into or something we should be doing. It's just not resonating with us. And so we're getting really clear about what it is that we want, I think, is one of the first things you need to do when you're thinking about what needs to be done. Now, of course, there's all kinds of things that we don't like to do. Like maybe you don't like to clean toilets. Or, if it's getting my house cleaned was your goal. Of course you don't like to do things, and sometimes you just have to do them anyways. But with those major life goals, you have to be into it. You have to have a big why. You have to get excited about it. You have to really want it. And that will be help with your motivation to start looking at all of these other things so that you can move through it. So as they say, the GPS doesn't work unless you input those coordinates and at least get yourself going in the general direction of where you want to be. So number three, some of us we don't like to set goals. We're just really resistant to it. We like to be carefree. Freedom is really important. That's really a big value for us, and we just don't like to set goals. And I personally believe that everybody has a different style, and if that's working for you, then there's nothing wrong with that. So, you go and keep going. That's great. But if that's not working for you, then it's time to sort of reevaluate what's underneath and what's stopping you, what's blocking you from setting those goals. There goes my phone. Number four, sometimes we set goals that are so big and so daunting that we get completely overwhelmed and we can't even, we're immobilized. We can't even take a step. And of course, the most important thing at that point is to really start chunking that goal down into smaller steps as best we can. Here we go. The smaller the steps, then we can get something done, and that can really help with our motivation and with our feeling of self-esteem and self-confidence and, I did it, I got something done, I'm moving forward, and that's really important. So breaking those goals down into manageable pieces. And I'm sure I've talked about this before. It's like, how do you eat an elephant? Not that I would eat an elephant, but, it's one piece at a time, one little chunk at a time. Because if it's too big, it's too daunting, too overwhelming, and you just get lost in the goal. Okay, number five. Some of us are perfectionists. Does that speak to you? Do you feel like it's hard to do things because if it's not done perfectly, it's like a reflection on your self-worth, your value as a human being, and of course that's not true. Of course, we don't have to do everything perfectly, and sometimes consciously we know that, but subconsciously it's just this drive that we have to do it perfectly. And so where does that come from? And, where's that pressure coming from for us to do that? And if that's immobilizing you, then that's something that you really want to look at. And, at the end of the day, there's that saying, there is no failure, there's only feedback. And, the most amazing innovations in the world, none of them, I don't know how many times, they worked on the light bulb. I forget the guy's name. How many times he made changes to the light bulb before he finally got it to work. Things don't tend to work on the very first try, and it takes failure to get to not do it perfectly, to get the feedback, to learn, to grow. I mean, that's what life's all about. So if that's something that's holding you back, gee, my phone's ringing off the hook today. if that's holding you back, then that's something that we could look at as well. Number six, comparing yourself to other people. This is a really tough one too, and it's again very paralyzing. It really gives a hit to your self-worth, your self-confidence. It's always, that person is smarter, that person is thinner, that person has more experience, that person has it all together. I guarantee you that person probably doesn't have it all together. They just appear that way on the outside. And maybe they are a few steps ahead of you, but they probably started where you did. And so, comparing ourselves to other people, it doesn't tend to motivate us, unless we're not so much comparing as saying, well, I really like how this person does that. I think that's something I will incorporate into my life. That's a useful comparison, as long as it's a good thing to incorporate. As opposed to, I'm not even going to try because I could never measure up to that, because that's not true. And that person, like I said, that person probably doesn't have it all together anyways. So we need to give ourselves a chance. And then the last thing, these are sort of the more common things that I tend to see. So the last one that I want to mention is just trouble in prioritizing and managing your time. And there are so many simple fixes you can do for that one too. But again, sometimes that just is rooted in your beliefs and how you think the world works and what you think you're capable of. And so you put off doing, even sometimes what these things are. You could start time blocking on your calendar, making lists, chunking things down like we talked about earlier. And often we just don't do those things when we don't believe it's something we can really achieve. So lots of food for thought there. I don't know if you see yourself in any of those. Those were 7 things that I find to be really common among people. But I think there are so many other things that you could add. And I wonder, what those are for you. Like, let me know if there was something that wasn't on that list that you find to be something that holds you back, that stops you from moving forward, that makes you procrastinate. I would love to hear from you. Next week, we're going to talk about a simple little 3-step process to kind of get yourself moving in the right direction so you can get more done. So I hope you will tune in with me for that. And, I just want to say that, there are so many things that you can do, and I would love to help you get started moving towards whatever that dream is that you have, or figuring out what that dream is that you have. So many tools in my toolkit that I would love to share with you. And if that's something of interest to you, then please connect with me. And either way, I hope this video helped you, and I would love for you to tune into the next one. Don't forget to download all the freebies below, and let me know if you have any questions about this, or if there's anything you would like to see in future videos. All right, so thanks so much and take good care.